Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the MPO. Can I have your attention, please? This is the Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee. We're meeting here at City Council Chambers, 1110 Houston Street, Laredo, Texas. Today's August the 20th, 2018, and it's 1:35 more or less p.m. And can we have a roll call, please, Ms. Guerra?
Mayor P. Sines,
Present.
Webb County Judge Tano Tijerina,
Will be absent.
City Council Member Charlie San Miguel,
Here.
City Council Member George Alfeld, City Council Member Roberto Valli, Webb County Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez,
Present.
and Webb County Commissioner John Galo,
Present.
Textile District Engineer David M. Salazar,
Present.
and District Administrator Melissa Montemayor. For the record, you have quorum.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Motion to excuse those absent.
There's a motion to excuse those absent. Is there a second? Second, discussion, not heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no, motion carries. Thank you. A third item is citizens' comments. Anyone wishing to speak, you have 3 minutes, and you can come forward to the dais or the lectern there. Seeing that no one is approaching, we proceed to the next item, which are the items requiring policy committee action. The approval of the minutes for the meeting held on July 16, 2018.
Second if
There's
there's
a
no
motion
amendments.
and a second. Discussion. No amendments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next item is item 4, Roman numeral 4B. And now we have Council Member Bali with us. Let the record reflect that. Yes, would you cover that? It's a discussion with possible action to award or reject the El Metro ADA bus stops and bicycle plazas enhancement project and funding for that. Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Yes, thank you. You will recall that we did go out for a call for projects for the Transportation Alternative Funding. Only one applicant submitted for a project, and that was the El Metro. And that is for, there's a whole bunch of stuff it's for. It's for the transit bus shelters, excuse me. And so they're asking for $200,000. And they have a representative here who can also speak to his application.
Hi, Joe Jackson, El Metro, AGM of Maintenance.
Hi, welcome, sir.
How are you? So it's for 17 bus stops. Total with the match is $250,000. These 17 bus stops that we picked came from the
I'm
comprehensive
sorry, Mayor.
bike plan.
Could you speak a little louder?
I'm deaf as it
I'm
is.
sorry.
Yeah. Or maybe
We changed mics up there, looks like we changed mics up there, right?
Is the mic here?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was 17 locations, and we had taken it from the bike plan, comprehensive plan, that we chose those 17 locations for. We have, if you'd like to see some photos.
So El Metro is just the city area? Does it go
Yes.
beyond the city or no?
No.
Just strictly
Yes.
the El Metro routes?
Is there perhaps a diagram or something we can see on these shelters, what they're gonna look like?
Yeah, we have some pictures if you'd like to see what we have done before.
And did I hear correctly, you said it was $200,000 and a $50,000 match, or,
Amica, how are you?
yes? So you,
$200,000 or $50,000 local match.
Mayor, over the weekend, I rode El Metro and I saw several areas where there was no shelter, and we addressed exactly this. There was a lady, an expecting lady, pregnant, and you can tell she had been standing in the hot sun for a good while. When she gets on the bus, she's drenched in sweat, and I thought we need to get more shelters. And thanks be to God, we got these here today that we're gonna hopefully be approving. I think it's very necessary. I imagine you all support this.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you for recognizing the need for it, otherwise it wouldn't be here before us.
motion to approve.
Second.
There is a motion, a second to
I'm gonna make the
approve.
motion.
And they include solar panels,
There'll be solar panels, bike repair stations, and benches, and
I'm glad you mentioned the bike repair station, because we were promoting that. I actually went on my bike, and I loaded my bike onto the bike rack, onto El Metro. It was very easy to do, it was great, so I'm glad that you're mentioning that we're gonna have a bike repair station there as well, because what we're doing is, we noticed that we need some more routes, right? To just make it a better service to the public, to the community. And so, if they're far from the nearest route, they can go on their bike. It makes it easier to get there. They can load the bike onto El Metro. So I'm really proud of all the work that you all are doing.
thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, just gonna ask you, where's the 50,000 coming out of?
By El Metro local, it's from El Metro sales tax.
The Metro, and that's been budgeted or will be budgeted? Yeah, we're covering the budget tonight. Is that on the list of, for next year or
It's
do we have the funds now?
Yes, we do have the funds.
Okay, so you're committing that, you can commit those?
Yes.
Okay.
Quick
Yes, go
question.
ahead, please.
I'm just saying, so these are all, fabric shelters. How do you mount the solar panel?
Underneath there, you have some braces, and we install the solar panel, or the solar lights underneath the canopy, then we put the panel on the outside.
I just didn't, I see where you showed the lights, but I couldn't see where the panel, so the panel will have oh, there it is, I see it, okay. And this one. Very well.
After the before and after?
Yeah, it's over here in the corner.
Okay. Call for the question? Are we
Yeah.
ready? Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is, it's a motion to authorize the execution of the proposed planning agreement between the Texas Department of Transportation of the Laredo Urban Transportation Study, which has been designated the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization, which is the MPO, for the Laredo urbanized area in the city of Laredo, which serves as the MPO's fiscal agent. The planning agreement identifies the roles and responsibilities of the parties carrying out the transportation planning process. Is it anything different than before?
No, it is not.
Do we need to improve it in your opinion?
No, we're fine. It's
Oh,
our standard agreement. It's a 5-year agreement. And I believe everything's in order. We're,
Okay.
They probably wouldn't let you if you wanted to. Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion, a second discussion, none heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on. This is item D. This is an important item. This is something that was a table from last discussion because we needed more member participation. And this is the discussion with possible action on the transfer of $96.93 million from the construction of US 59 interchanges at Del Mar, Shiloh International, Jackman, University Boulevard, to the construction of the US 59 frontage roads between US 59 and International Boulevard. This change will allow better access to business and residents located along the US 59 corridor. In addition, it will allow for easier future construction of the interchanges by avoiding duplicated traffic closures and detours. So it's more convenient. Yes, go ahead, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, Roberto Rodriguez with Texta. Yeah, what the state is proposing, it's, we already have funding for the 5 interchanges. Now, Texas a few months ago went into an agreement with 4 different consultants to develop the entire Loop 20 from International to US 59. In those contracts with the consultants, we told them you'll develop the interchanges plus the PSNEs for the frontage roads, just to have all the plans ready on the shelf if funding becomes available. Now, what we're trying to do is move the money from the interchanges to the frontage roads, so that way the constructability of the projects, the driveways, access, right-of-way, utilities can be done way in advance right now. Similar to what we have, we used to have an International on McPherson on Loop 20. We did the frontage roads, the side roads, which now they will be working outside of the road. We will not have the closures on the Loop 20. And then in the future, they will be working in the middle. We're trying to avoid the same situation we had right in front of our office in Loop 20 and Clark and just
Great,
further south.
thank you.
When we're having to shift traffic one line to the other one, then curves everywhere, you know. With this also, it will, it will avoid duplicating traffic, will minimize the reconstruction or demolition of work that was done already to create the interchanges.
Yeah, my concern is, yeah, and that, yeah, from my standpoint, I think it's fine. I checked with management too. And obviously if it's gonna be more convenient and it's not gonna create more duplication of interference and that sort of thing. My concern is the funds, when you bring plans toward the construction, can we then release as you bring plans? I would hate to release and then
Sure, what we're
release
trying-
more than what we
Well,
need
what
for
we're trying to achieve right now, it's about the $96.93 million that we have allocated. When we came out with the consultants came out with the estimates for the frontage roads, it's about 104 million. So there is some money that the state is willing to put for some of the underruns.
Can we
Bring
see
additional-
those documents, or how can we be reassured unless
Mayor.
members?
I think our commitment to the outer loop, to the loop project is there when we speak about the design project, because right now in the design phase,
Okay,
we're going forth and we're designing everything. It's gonna get designed with the overpasses and frontage roads. We're committed to it.
so you're telling this body that it's gonna cost more than the 96, that we shouldn't worry, that the difference will be made up by Texas?
Now, what I'm saying is that we're committed to it till we find the allocated funds. Right now, what currently each overpass is about $25 million per overpass. When we can take those 5 overpasses and commit them to the frontage roads, it'll be 3-lane frontage roads in each direction. We'll be able to push back, we won't mess with the middle, traffic will be in the middle, we'll be building them. From a construction standpoint, it's actually cheaper and we get a better price.
I know, we understand all of that. My question is the money part. Difference. Yeah.
When does the overpass get reallocated?
Yeah.
And I'm just sorry, flabbergasted that this comes 6 years down the road after we've already, or 4 years down the road after we've already allocated all the money. We fought for the overpasses, we got it changed, and we have it pulled back, and then the date gets set back, and because of utilities, because of all this, and now we can do everything all at once. And I'm sorry, for me, build the overpasses, get it over with.
Currently, we're still working on trying to get the funding to do all 5 overpasses in the frontage roads, which we don't have yet. We haven't come to that point yet. What we're trying to do here is eliminate a lot of the environmental studies, get ahead of the ballgame, ease up some traffic, and get it built to the outside where we're having 3 lanes in each direction, and then work our way through getting the overpasses built.
Do we have timelines to at least try to satisfy?
We will not be
Commissioner
moving,
Gales?
our letting days will stay at the same as the overpasses. We're just relocating the funding. The letting days, like I said, the consultants are working on the designs, so they'll have the designs at the same time. Just as they have the interchanges, they'll have the frontage roads already designed.
So like when will,
And ready to let
Del Mar, Jackman overpass be built, 2025, 2030?
No, so some of the overpasses, and I don't wanna give you exact dates, but I remember some of the overpasses, like Del Mar, were scheduled for 2021. Some of the one at the airport, I think, is the one in 2024.
Well, no, but that's scheduled now. But now you're gonna take the money,
No, we'll do the frontage roads.
Huh?
We will be doing the frontage.
the frontage roads, but when does,
2021,
huh?
the same year, 2021. Like I said, we are doing the design for both.
No, hold on. The
So-
question is, will the frontage roads and the overpass?
Not with the overpass, just the frontage roads right now will be 2021.
That's-
Unless we find additional funding to also bring the interchange, the overpass.
Let
We'll do both
TXDOT
together.
put up the money for the frontage roads, and we'll do the overpasses. Let's get them done. You're stacking up traffic as it is. How far back does Loop 20 stack at 5 and 6 o'clock, going southbound?
I've received a lot of calls.
To
Right now,
the airport at least.
yeah. No, but all that area, with the new school, with the freshman campus opening up also for Alexander High School, I have people waiting hours at that intersection. So,
And I'm glad you bring that up, because that's been a concern with the Alexander High School, where they're coming out into 2 lanes of traffic. If we go ahead and move forward with these frontage roads, it's gonna be better for the flow of traffic, because you're gonna have 3 lanes in each direction. That worries me, the Alexander, because you're coming right into Loop 20, and there ain't much there. If we can alleviate some of the traffic where we're free flowing down Loop 20.
do you have any
instead of coming
schematics
up
to show us?
No, we don't have this
No.
schematic.
But again,
And
why?
when would that be completed?
The design work,
No, the construction.
Construction for the frontage roads?
Yes.
Do you have a timeline?
Well, no, we'll be breaking it in sections, you know, and probably the one that, you referred to Delmar is gonna be probably, is gonna come from the north. Was thinking of starting from the north, going down.
If we're breaking it in sections, then why don't we just do everything, the overpass and
Well,
the access roads, everything
because of
together?
the other construction funding. We only have construction funding to either do the interchanges or do the side roads.
Basically, what you're gonna have, Charlie, is you're gonna have an overpass, you're gonna go over, you're gonna come down, you're gonna stop.
Yes, sir. You're gonna come back to the same condition of the lanes and then having to go back.
You know, I think it would have helped if we had schematics so you can show us, so we can, you know, have visuals, as opposed to just telling us that it works better. Is there anybody nearby that can maybe, or somebody you can call, that can shoot you an email with the schematic and then you can put it up?
What's
I
the,
mean,
what's the
I-
percentage of the design phase we have right now?
Somebody can take a picture off the screen, send it to us maybe, or just so we can see what it
Again, really,
is.
the question is,
When?
why so long?
Yeah, when?
Why so long, you know, we've been at this game for how long? I mean, you know, I know I had this argument on a chart, I said, why, you know, let's build the frontage roads, I mean, that's the typical textile, you build the frontage roads, then you come back and build the middle. Why now did you all not think of that?
That's a very good question, and that's before my time, and
Well-
I'll try to attack it or answer it for you, but, you know, we just recently took over the design aspect of it. Previously, it was under somebody else that was doing the design aspect for it. I'm not sure what route they took, but we're dealing with an outside person that was taking care of that. Now that we've taken over the design aspect, I think this is the way to go about it. And those decisions that were made previously before my time,
But
I can't answer why they were made that way.
I understand that, and like I said, that's a reasonable answer. But I'm just
Yeah, let me ask you.
concerned that since there's no other monies, and you're saying, well, we'll get the frontage road now, and maybe in 2030, we'll get overpasses. And I think the overpasses right now are more important to get that traffic, you know, on the loop, clearing them out. We can do an acceleration lane, a long one there for people going northbound out of the new Alexander campus. You know, the other people need to loop around and come back to Del Mar, and, you know, maybe an acceleration lane there too. There's things that can be done in the short term to alleviate that traffic.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. if the
stealing
over-
$100 million from those overpasses that we've fought and clawed and screamed and hollered and tried to get programmed and just keep getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And now you want to push it back another 10 years.
So I'm under the, you know, I'm gonna have to be said again, once you open up the level of service and add an additional lane in both directions, that's gonna carry a lot of weight. I do have a concern, especially at Jackman and right there at Alexander, that if you build that overpass, you're gonna come over, you're gonna come down to 2 lanes again. This way, we're adding another level of service by an additional lane throughout the whole length of the project and not just section per section. Acceleration lane Alexander will work, but then you come back to 2 lanes. You're gonna bottleneck right there. So from an engineering standpoint, upgrading the level of service with an additional lane north and southbound is the way to go for me. As well as the intersections, you're gonna be further apart, you're coming across. And there's certain things that we could do on turnarounds to get traffic to start flowing backwards.
No,
I
and you know what?
apologize for not having a schematic, but we can certainly provide something for you.
I think we all agree with that. The issue is that the question of when was never answered. And I don't think you all can answer the question of when will the overpasses come. And I understand that it's good to say if we've got these access roads ready, then it's easier to get the overpasses done, funding wise. But I think the opposite is also true, is if we have the overpasses done, it should be easy to get the access roads done. So, you know, I don't see why it wouldn't be any easier. It seems that it should be even more easy, if we have them done, so we can finish it out.
And if we keep the funding there right now to build the overpass, I think it's gonna be something that TxDOT has to work on, the funding for the frontage roads.
Right, just as well as if we do the furnish, or we'll be working on funding for the interchanges. What's gonna make it a little more complicated is when it comes to utilities right away. We need to have projects on the books with the project limits, you know, like the Delmar interchange. Of course, utilities are not gonna come and they're not gonna zigzag around just the interchange.
But let me ask you this, from the standpoint of costs, just cost itself, if we go your route and then build the interchange, is that gonna save us in the long run?
Well,
Or be the same?
this will be savings because of the traffic flow will not be interrupted. And it actually will be a faster construction.
Yeah, that part I understand, but let me go back to what you just said, because I don't remember if you or who it was up here last time, I mean, whatever it was, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, whenever we talked about the overpasses. They said they were delaying the overpasses so they could do all the utilities at one time. Okay, so now, that's not an excuse anymore.
Correct.
We're gonna do all the utilities for the frontage roads and everything, move them all at one time, get it out of the way. So what does it matter if you're doing the frontage road or the
We're
overpass?
working with that, with the right-of-way division, without restriction, because what they ask from the districts is you need to have projects, that are on the books for the project limits themselves, you know. So what we're doing right now, the acquisition, extending as much as we can. And we're hoping, I mean, we can get it worked out, you know, that we'll be acquiring the entire route. But it's just, right now, it's one of the, kind of the, policies, text of policies that we're looking at to make sure we can get everything at once.
Okay.
I think Mr. Bratton.
I just wanted to say something. If you remember back when we started programming the money for Loop 20, the notion was that we wanted those interchanges done because we wanted people to be leave from South Laredo and go all the way to North Laredo without hitting a single light. That was the whole thing. Everybody was on board with that, and that was the idea. Now, I understand what the director, district engineer is saying about the convenience of having the outsides built and all of that, but originally, when we programmed this money, and I think all of you were here, it was to create that straight shot kind of notion that you weren't gonna hit any lights, you were just gonna go. And you could get off wherever you need to get off, but you would go from South Laredo to North Laredo without any stoplights,
But
okay?
apparently.
Then we ended up with, yes, Mayor, then we ended up with a light at Airport, right? I mean, and then you've got Jackman with the, Sandania with its weird light, then you got Jackman, so forth. So that was the original thought. The other thing that I wonder about is this. We're always told that you've got to have an environmental clearance before you move on and do your PS&E. In the regular world, when we do a Char Parkway, you know, we can't start designing anything, right, until that environmental is done. Yet TxDOT's telling us that, hey, they're designing this thing, but we've never heard from them, what is the ETA on that environmental, number one. Number two, we've not seen the schematic, and how do you know, that's part of the environmental. So number three, where are they in the right-of-way process? Are they 6 months away from getting all the right-of-way? Because then I can understand the urgency in trying to move all this money, you know, into a different form of the project. But right now, we haven't heard those timeframes and those timelines. I'm not saying that what they're asking for is unreasonable. I'm just saying, what is their rush? Because if you don't have an environmental, you don't have the PS&E, and you don't have the right-of-way, why are you transferring money?
And that's a
The
good question.
project
Can
is
we wait
committed
till that
right now.
juncture? And this way, there's a sense of urgency for you all to complete those.
Several
And
questions.
it's a constrained project right now. I mean, all of those overpasses, they're in the plan, right? The money's there, and that's constrained under TxDOT rules.
So several things
So-
happening. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You have those three things,
Yeah,
schematic,
several
environmental.
questions, and fall back on your question from a construction point. Yes, it is cheaper to do that. It is cheaper to build on the outside. It is gonna be a cost savings. You're gonna get a better price from a contractor because you're not having to deal with traffic control, detours, and doing work in live traffic. You either work on the outside where there's no traffic, and then you work on the inside. We get a better price, it's safer, it is a cheaper construction cost. In the long run, it will save them some money.
Are we
How
talking
much
10% or more? Yeah, that's
How
a
much
question.
money, I don't know exactly, Mayor, but it would save money from a construction standpoint. And to answer Nathan's question, you know, TxDOT, you know, we've done a couple of things here with the, expedited several projects, and what we've done with this project is that we've been given authority to move forward with the design, which was never done before. That's something that we're committed to, that we're working on now. As far as the schematic environmental, he is correct. Prior to last couple of years, PS&E had to be completed, the schematic had to be completed, environmental study, everything had to come in junction. Now we're working together so we can move forward these projects. TxDOT has allowed us to do that. Now we're working on the schematic, we're working on the environmental, and working on design. in
Well, let me ask you this,
conjunction.
what's the harm of waiting until you all comply with all these prerequisites?
So we're moving forward with that. All we wanted to, because what Mr. Rodriguez was trying to explain was that environmental-wise, if we try to get environmental clearance on project per project, it kind of does delay us a little bit. If we
No,
can-
in other words, do what the commissioner asked and council member and of course, In other words, do your thing, present us a package, and then we can decide. Now we'll know that you're ready, and I think the question is more viable, I think, to this body to say, you know what, it's less costly, this and that, and you're ready, and we can exercise this. See, here, we may approve it, the money's gone, we may have to wait, no telling when.
We can certainly do that, and I'm assuming you're looking at timelines, correct? You're looking at timelines?
No, yeah, for the schematic, for the environmental, for the right of way, todo. You know, present us a package, we're ready for this. And then, but we still know we have the money in our control. Because if we release the money, then we have no leverage.
We can certainly do that. We can bring a complete package and take a look at it.
I mean, I know what, you know, what you all did there at Clark, and I remember all that. I mean, really, it's been the railroad bridge that's been the hard part, you know, that's messing everything up. Because the Clark intersection was no bad deal, except for the, you know, where you couldn't cross over anymore. You know, and that's the way it's gonna be, no matter what you build. You know, because you're not gonna be able to go, if you're coming from, let's say, going north on International, once you start the construction of the overpass, you're not gonna be able to go north, right? They'll block it off and you'll have to, you know, loop around.
It would be the same scenario that we have at 35 new train interchange right now, where they're working in the middle and the front doors are built. It'd be the same type of scenario that we're looking for down the road. That's what we're trying to.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, once you start building the overpass, I mean, you know, you're gonna, whether you put the beams across or whatever, you have to shut the intersection down. So, at some point, you're gonna have to shut the intersection down, whether it's with the frontage roads or not. And now, once you start construction, you build the exterior frontage roads, just like they did Camino Columbia, you split off, go to the side, come back to the middle. Or vice versa, you know, the outside, you come to the middle, like you did over there at what is it, McPherson? Where you come from the outside, go to the middle, and then go back out, so.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We're shifting traffic just like at Park. We'll have to shift traffic over.
Either way, you're gonna shift traffic, and like I say, I've been here too long, and, you know, I may not be here that much longer, so I wanna see those overpasses done,
I do too, yeah.
you know.
Since currently the way, if we just leave things alone, you know, the monies are programmed, so the overpasses are first, unless they can convince us otherwise with all this other evidence that they may bring, and then we can tackle this question down the road if you wish. Okay, moving on. Okay, thank you very much.
Action.
Yeah, no action. Anyone?
Opinion from the RMA.
I mean, maybe the RMA wants to build the frontage roads, I don't know.
Do you have an opinion on our discussion that we just had?
Javier Rodriguez and Mr. Arturo Dominguez, representing the Wood County City Laredo Regional Road Authority. I guess from a construction perspective, I totally see the benefits of this route.
Which route?
What the TxDOT's currently proposing. And I understand the frustration that Commissioner Galo is expressing. I mean, we have been talking about this for a long, long time. And the RMA, of course, has been involved in some of those discussions. We, like the entire community, we just want this project to move forward as well. So, but I do understand and I do see the benefits that Mr. Rodriguez and District Engineer Salazar have represented.
Well, if they told me that they had the other 100 million set, you know, ready to go and be programmed in, you know, 2022, 2023, fine, you know, I could see that. But there's no guarantee there's gonna be one penny down the road.
I mean, that is the challenge because, I mean, you're reviewing the UTP and I haven't seen the recent version released for just this month in August. But the reality is we do have all our money locked up in this project all the way up to 2024.
2024,
Is that correct? Yeah. So, and it's all been specifically for the overpasses. And there really isn't any money beyond that we can put forward to these projects to get those overpasses in. So it really is one or the other at the moment. The only other opportunities maybe, you know, continue to do what we do is the next round of fast lane, or I guess it's called the infra grant. If that comes out again, we can definitely try to see to put an application forward for that, to try to get those overpasses in. Maybe that's another route we can take.
Discretionary funds?
Discretionary funds from the statewide, yes, that's another possibility as well. But at the end of the day, you know, we're working with the information we have. So,
Okay. Anything else? No.
no, CBI is pretty much, that's all, all allocated already, so.
So this is where, it's still the same, and hopefully you can convince us at the next round that you're ready, prepared, and you can present cost savings, timelines. Okay then, thank you.
Mayor, while they're there, can we just,
Bring them up.
skip to G?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to bring up G. Discussion not heard. Those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Motion carries. Go ahead, sir. Discussion with possible action on the Achar and Ruthinger Road.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Luis Perez Garcia, Webb County Engineer for the record. The report is a short one today regarding where we are on the Achar Ruthinger Road. We have received concurrence from TxDOT regarding the contracts that were prepared. We are preparing the notice to proceed. It should be out of the office in the next couple of days. And at the next meeting, I will bring you an updated report on the timeline. We were assuming that we would be at this point previously by the July meeting, if not before that. So we're about 6 weeks behind on the timeline, starting with the notice to proceed being issued.
And
we
for the
should be
public's
there
sake,
this
when you say proceed as to what?
Proceed with the environmental section with Dannenbaum Engineering regarding doing the design and unifying the record for the Achar and the Ruthinger sections of the roadway.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and we anticipate that's gonna take,
It should be done in the next 2 days. We're
no,
waiting for.
6 months. You know, once it's out from your office, then we're talking
We were
easily
hoping
6
by
months.
the end of the year, but it may have been pushed a little bit beyond into the 2019 first quarter.
Okay.
I mean, so this is the same, the document that we approved on Monday, a month ago.
Yes, sir.
So what do we need now? Once we,
The Webb County Commissioners Court approved it once we got concurrence from TxDOT. We're waiting on TxDOT for the letter that says that we have concurrence, not just, hey, we concur and here it is, but a letter from Mr. Rodriguez telling us that they're in agreement with the contract that's prepared, and at that point, we'll go forward.
now, wait a minute. I'm a little confused.
Okay.
Because at Monday, I asked the Commissioners Court, does TxDOT concur with this contract? I mean, this is the one that they approved that they tell us to sign, right?
That is correct.
So we have to go back and say, okay, now we've signed it.
He sent us an email. We want the letter, and we know it's coming to be able to move to the next step. We're just making sure that the document is in place before we move forward.
No, and I wholeheartedly agree on that. I just wanted to
That's where we're
see
at.
where we're at, because on Monday, that letter should have gone out and said, all right, Commissioners Court has approved what you all recommended to approve. Again, because we were acting on TxDOT's recommendation, so we approved it, because we thought you had already approved it.
We just want to get the hard copy in hand
I understand,
and go forward.
but I think we need to expedite that a little more.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Any questions or comments from the committee? If not, thank you. Mr. Perez Garcia. Can we bring RMA?
Well, I mean, does the RMA need to have any discussion?
Yeah,
on
let's
this?
bring up, the item E, they're usually the last. So we-
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking they had something to say on that was my mistake. Yeah, item E then,
Yeah, this is motion to bring up E.
5E.
5E, is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion, not heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no, motion carries unanimously, yeah, please. The RMA, the status report on the RMA,
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
welcome.
So first off, just want to start off by saying thank you to yourself and members of City Council for the action passed last week at the budget workshop for the 3 projects that the RMA feels is going to be a good benefit across the city.
Could you describe those
Yes, sir.
briefly, just for the public, please?
Just as an update for everyone else, the RMA had presented 3 different projects requesting funding for advancing 3 projects. Number 1, Vicecio Road from Mines Road to IH-35. The Chilum Industrial Boulevard, Mines Road intersection improvements, proposed turn lanes, which are part of the mid-range improvements specified in the 2015 TTI study, as well as also the new arterial to tie into Los Presidentes in South Laredo from Cuatro Vientos to Concord Hills.
And we have multiple contributors, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, for
It's not
Valencia
necessarily the
Road.
city by itself, it's you and others, yeah, go ahead.
For that final project, that project has multiple agencies participating. City of Laredo is one of them, the RMA, the landowners in that area, as well as the Webb County Drainage District and the Texas Department of Transportation. With regards to YSU Road, of course, that, the action on that is also to really advance that project forward for ultimately for our pass-through finance application with participation from the city, the RMA, and the landowner in that area as well to present to TxDOT. And finally, last but not least, with Killam Industrial, 1472 turn lanes, proposed right turn lanes coming north on Mines Road onto Killam, and also heading west on Killam, north on Mines Road. The city will be assisting us with that as well. So 3 good projects that we're looking to advance this year into next year as well. Next steps for those projects, we'll be presenting drafted and local agreements for each of the 3 projects for the city to consider, as well as other agencies that will be involved with those projects. That's in the immediate that we'll be doing. We'll be looking to work on this month. Other items that the RMA is getting ready to do, we want to make a presentation on the transportation investment study that we completed in the south along Route 20 from US 59 to US 83 and Bridge 5. We made a presentation last month to this body, and we intend to make a presentation to City Council ultimately for discussions for next steps to refine that zone and ultimately to implement as well.
For potential TRC, is that?
Yes, sir, in the south.
Yeah, and you all were doing also another study over here in the north?
Yeah, with regards to the North Laredo Webb County Transportation Planning Study that this body passed action with regards to funding for that project. The advanced funding agreement currently that TxDOT has developed is under review by Federal Highway Administration. The RMA has provided all that information for the state to move forward, and we're simply awaiting execution of the AFA. Well, upon receiving that, the board will move forward with work on that study. That's currently.
Commissioner Good?
Continue to hear these TRZs, and like I say, I'm not a proponent of them, and so,
I understand, Commissioner.
Well, and that's the purpose of the study, to see
well, I mean, but they continue these studies, we haven't gotten one passed, and I don't think you're gonna get one passed, but you continue to study them. And
well, let me ask you this.
spending money to study, and that's what bothers me, because it's always like, let's get somebody else to finance. I mean, you want us to finance, give us the project shovel ready, give us the environmental, give us something, and we'll fund it. But,
well, see, that's the purpose. We don't have the money even to begin the shovel ready.
what I'm saying, but, they can do the environmental, this is what we've talked about several times, go in there, get some plans, PS&E, or get it environmentally ready, and then let the
Or
city,
the
county,
RMA,
or the MPO
Yeah, through
do
your
it.
funds, through your funds.
But it's always like, let us do the project, here we're gonna do the project, but we wanna tax you.
Well, and Commissioner, going back to the first 3 projects we talked about a little bit earlier, I mean, that's exactly what's happening. We are looking to, with the city's assistance and other agencies as well, these are 3 projects that we're going to get pushed forward, shovel ready for implementation and construction. And I think they're going to be a lot of good benefit for the community. So,
No, and they're all very much needed roads, but how long has the RMA been in existence?
2014 was an act. August 2014, I believe, is when Texas Transportation Commission executed. And now we're in our 4th year of existence as of this month. And, honestly, a lot of RMAs do take a little bit of time to ramp up. The earlier RMAs were kind of different cases. Each RMA is different. Some were luckier than others. We, as the newest RMA, we've had a little bit of time to get our sea legs together, but we're moving forward, and I feel very good about the recent action that the city council passed last week, and we're going to start seeing some dirt moving and get some of these projects on the ground.
I'm glad, like I said.
See, the balls in their court now. They have no excuse anymore. Whatever, get after it.
Sir, and we're ready to get after it. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions for the gentleman? If not, thank you so much.
No, thank you for letting us speak. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
appreciate it. Moving on to the regular agenda here, presentation, discussion, and possible action on Kansas City Southern Railroad Quiet Zone Study. Do we have anyone?
Yes, Mayor. This is an update study that was done to a prior study for a quiet zone along the Kansas City Southern line. It looks at establishing a quiet zone from Arkansas all the way to Vidaurri Street. That original study had recommendations for some closures between San Bernardo and Vidaurri. The councilman there expressed his opinion that closures were not a good thing. So we retained Kimley Horn to go back and look at that and give us some more guidance and do a little bit more homework on it. And so I have here Santiago Araque and Christian DeLuca, both from Kimley Horn, that have done this update study. And I think they have some pretty interesting results that I think this council will, that this body, this will be interested in hearing.
Okay, thank you. Yes, welcome, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Nathan. Santiago Araque, Kimley Horn. Wanted to present the
Did
result.
Aracle?
It's right there in the bottom there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, oh, yeah.
I was
Araque.
looking for it too.
Santiago Araque.
Somebody's
Yeah,
sneezing
go
over
ahead.
there?
Huh?
Are they sneezing? No.
No, that was me stuttering. Yeah. Okay, Araque, go ahead.
Presenting the results from our quiet zone study along the Kansas City Southern Railroad. First, just a little bit about the quiet zone.
Well, is it a mute point? I don't know what the city council voted, that they said they didn't want to do the closures, right?
Well, we've got some options that we think the council will look at favorably this time. That's why we're doing this.
When is this going to council, next go around? Or?
Tonight, it's going to council.
Okay.
It'll be before.
So what do you want from us to, like?
Well, we want to give you a quick understanding of what the impacts are when you have, I guess everybody already knows, but the impacts are when you have, how many train horn blows in a 24-hour period? 2,048 in the
train
downtown
horns.
area and in,
Half of those being at night from the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
go
But
back
it's not
one-
gonna eliminate the horn blowing,
Yeah, it will.
huh?
Yes, it will. Go back one slide and show them the graphic of this is the area that is most directly affected in the numbers. I'm sorry to take your thunder, Santiago.
But I'm just trying to say, because I know
Well-
I've been through this process before, and
Yes, sir.
when they, Kansas City did it over here off of, following Chihuahua, all they do is, instead of as fast as they had to blow it, because of each intersection, because they're required by law,
Yes, sir.
then they just blow it longer between each one,
Right.
so it's the same amount of time
And
blowing the horn.
what this will do is have them completely stop blowing the horn, period. Basically, it becomes, correct me if I'm wrong, illegal for them to blow the horn once you have implemented a quiet zone.
But the downside is that in exchange for that, you have to either pay for the arm bars or you have to close intersections. And I think the concern for District 8, I think that's why it's an updated presentation, because the concern that I had for the residents of District 8 is the idea that they'd rather hear the horn than not have a street.
Right.
They'd like
And
mobility and
we've gone back
the
and
problems that the lack of mobility creates in
That's correct.
in urban neighborhoods.
That's correct.
Or anywhere.
Council member. We've gone back and looked at that, and that's what this particular study is focusing on. Your total population that's affected in that yellow, red, and orange area is about almost 90,000 people. Within the red zone, it's 6,500, rough numbers. Within the red and the yellow, within the red and the orange, it's 25,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so those are the numbers of people within the city that are affected on a daily basis by this 2,000 plus horns.
That's only
My only point is,
What we looked at,
if I may,
Yes,
my
sir.
only point is, I think this is something that needs to be either approved by council first, so why are we gonna hear it?
The reason you're hearing it is because the MPO funded the update study. You all authorized the funding of this. So I think it's only appropriate to bring it to you and show you what the results are. and then it goes to council. I mean, like so many other things, it's kind of a hand in glove kind of issue.
No, I understand that. I'm
And,
just-
and that's why, I mean, it would be pretty remiss of us to just take it straight to council without the MPO ever seeing it, and they go, wait a minute, didn't we fund that thing? Why is it going straight to council? So,
I'm
out
not
of,
disagreeing, I like the opportunity, I'm just saying, I think it's,
well, and I think it's good also,
Yeah.
because I think
Yeah, let's proceed,
the
I
more
guess,
people
yeah.
hear about it, the better off it is.
And I can get straight to the
Yeah, but
analysis
yeah,
results
we
without
don't
telling
mind.
you what a quiet zone is, if you
Please.
prefer, just to get to the point.
you gotta convince him and his colleagues. Not me.
Point I want to make before I get started on the alternatives, there's two ways to mitigate a railroad crossing. One's a supplemental safety measure, another is an alternate safety measure. The main difference is if you recommend alternate safety measures, you have to prove to the FRA the efficiency. If you recommend supplemental safety measures only, they're 100% efficient and you don't have to prove how efficient they are. So once you establish a quiet zone, there is no need to check the efficiency of the measurements that you recommended.
You know, still having the idling issue, you know.
Our alternatives that we're proposing are only SSMs. So when if the quiet zone is approved by the FRA, you do not have to go back and prove the effectiveness of the quiet zone. There's two different scenarios that we analyzed. One was a quiet zone from Vidaurri to Arkansas. In order for that to be possible, the Vidaurri crossing would have to be closed. This is due to the fact that a crossing that is within 600 feet of the quiet zone, there cannot be a crossing within 600 feet. So if Vidaurri stays open, the crossing at Santa Isabel is too close, and the quiet zone would not be approved by the FRA. So in order to go from Vidaurri to Arkansas, the crossing at Vidaurri must be closed. The second scenario we analyzed was a quiet zone from Monterrey to Arkansas, which is a shorter crossing, but it gets at least the quiet zone on the east side of 35, which is a lot of houses and all the businesses, and
And a couple
improves
of
quality of life.
And a couple of schools.
A couple schools.
Yeah,
Here,
we say Monterrey Loop, I guess, no?
Monterrey Street,
street,
where, I think J.C. Martin fronts that, right?
yes.
Jason Martin.
yes.
No, that's Monterrey Avenue, I think,
Yeah,
Yes,
Monterrey
Monterrey
Avenue,
Avenue,
that's
sorry,
what he's
not
talking about.
because there's a Monterrey Loop.
So,
Yes, I
I
apologize.
live on Monterrey Street, so people get confused, yeah, okay.
yeah, right. So what we did, Councilmember Bali, is we looked at both options. One with regard to not messing with any of the grade crossings in your district, and also looked at, you know, what is the most minimal treatment that we can do. And because of this 600-foot requirement that Federal Rail has, Vidaurri would have to be closed. There's a total daily average crossing there of 72. It doesn't cut across Washington. It dead ends into Washington and it loops to Santa Isabel. South, on the north side of that railroad, there's no houses there at all. It's kind of a warehousing area. And so that would be the only affected street with respect to a closure in your district. The other street is the one directly
East.
west, east, excuse me, and that's
Santa Rita.
Santa Rita. That would have to be gated. And yes, you're correct. In order to do a quiet zone, you do have to fix those crossings so that they are secure. I mean, you don't want to, and the reason that one would need gates, obviously, is because if you don't have a horn blowing, you don't know that the train's coming. You know, people tend to just kind of try to beat the train, so the gates keep them back. And that particular intersection does not have gates at all. So it's unsafe to begin with. And probably at some point in the future, I would imagine TxDOT or somebody would probably help put a gate there anyway. But that would be one that would need a gate. The other option is if there absolutely can be no closures on that west side, then we can still do a quiet zone, smaller, beginning at Arkansas all the way to Monterrey. And we have the necessary, and I think that's without any closures too, but we do need
Correct.
to put gates. So at the end of the day, what happens is, one closure it looks like, if you want the full quiet zone, and then we'll have to and I'll be going to council tonight and asking for authority to move forward. If,
What is the median?
what it is,
On Convent.
do you have a picture?
Yes.
You've got to keep people from going around the gates, so you put a median so they can't divert around the closed gate.
Correct.
Something similar to
But right
that.
now, we, on Convent, we do have those gates, you're saying to add a median.
Correct.
Right.
That's not a big expense.
No, they're not big
Yeah,
expenses.
the FRA estimates it to be $13,000.
Okay.
And if we get John Orfila to
Here's
do it, he
the-
can do it for two.
Go back to the list of
Uh,
streets.
Vidauri and Santa Rita, no? Okay, yeah.
The alternative two has Santa Rita closed due to the
And what's
the cost of adding gates is $350,000, and we just want to show the difference in cost of establishing. We understand that that's not your preferred option,
Right, okay.
and I can show you the cost difference. Alternative two should be, Christian, do you have the updated alternative two number? 800,000. Oh, I have that in the 849,000. And that's closing Vidauri and Santa Rita and adding gates on Juarez and Marsella.
And go back to the three alternatives so we can see them together.
We also have a future proposal of adding, upgrading from 2 gates to 4 gates at Corpus Christi and Arkansas. Those are not required today, but if we are able to implement those mitigations, you would improve your quiet zone risk index, which means is much less likely that you ever get over the national threshold, which is kind of the key. You have a national threshold you want to be under. The farther you're under it, when it comes to revising the quiet zone every 4 years, the more chance that you have of not losing your quiet zone.
And that's something that could be done, you know,
Correct.
if the council does agree to move forward with it, quiet zone is implemented, a year later, you come up with $100,000, you install 2 more gates, in other words, so you have quad gates. And then you wait another year and you come back and you do quad gates at Arkansas or, what's it? Corpus.
About $1.2 million for the whole city, under one of these alternatives.
Under one of the
Under the
alternatives,
mo-
with
one of
one
them.
closure. If you want to go
If-
with 2 closures, it's 849,000. There's a difference, the gate cost is 350,000.
1,000 per.
That's the FRA estimate,
Right,
and that's assuming it's
And,
paid
and,
without text on sale.
okay.
and in essence, as I said earlier, that would silence the horns on the KCS lane.
Well, let me ask you this, it covers how many districts, maybe each district member could contribute a little bit, put that in? Because it impacts the whole line.
And the numbers that we showed of households affected, that's just households, that doesn't include businesses during the day, that are of course impacted by the horns.
Okay.
Okay, that,
So either way, like I said,
Yeah, we'll hear it tonight
depending
anyway at
upon
City Council.
how the council feels about it, and, you know, you can go
Hear it all over again.
half a zone or the full zone.
anything else?
In a,
And KCS would not participate in the financing of this?
KCS will participate to some degree, but where they will participate is in, if you close a crossing, they'll give you some money to close it. And that's it. They won't participate like in any other way. I mean, they'll
Perhaps
just pay you some
That
money.
closure on Vidauri pays for the closure on Santa Rita, for the.
Well, you get paid for both of those, okay?
The closure
Now,
is
how
much
much,
more inexpensive than the gates. A closure is $5,000 per the estimates that FRA gives.
No, it costs us 5,000, but what he's saying about is Kansas City Southern paying for the,
yeah, sometimes they will pay. I mean, I know that when we're talking to UP about, you know, closing certain grade crossings, I mean, some of them, they'll offer you up to, I hate to say this number publicly, like $80,000. That's not always the case. You know, it depends upon how much they want them closed too, but you can get some money from them, you normally to do that. Not to mention, I think TxDOT also has a program that they will pay you. It's not a lot of money, it's about $7,500, I think, when you close down a grade crossing as well, but you have to apply for it. And so, we haven't really delved into that specific because, you know, we're kind of waiting to see what the council is going to react to this. But there are some other options for getting some of that funding for it. But we wanted to bring it to you because you know, paid for the study, and then again tonight, I guess it will maybe trigger a little bit more brisk debate or discussion.
So we'll present it at city council, we'll bring it back to MPO depending on what city council decides.
Well, I think what we're asking for you all to do is just kind of accept the report and give us authorization to move it to council, and then it basically falls in
So moved.
city council's hands.
It's a motion, a second discussion, none heard, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, thank you. Both of you.
Good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Next, discussion with possible action on the River Road project. I did contact Mr. Muller. Robert Muller, he's been out this month. He did say that he would meet with myself and the city manager in September sometime, early September hopefully, so we can at least start addressing some of the proposals that the people there at the La Bota and in the surrounding area would want to present. So hopefully that's going to carry the conversation further. So I'll report back next month on any possible developments. The next item is a discussion with possible action. Unless someone else is here to speak on that item. I see no one moving to the front, so we'll move on. Discussion with possible action on the Chad Withinger Road, we covered that. And then status report by TxDOT on the Laredo mobility study.
Mr. Chairman, I went ahead and spoke with Mr. Gil Wilson with the TxDOT Rail Division. If you will recall, this was a study that was part of a federal earmark. It was actually, it says Laredo mobility, should say Laredo Rail Mobility Study. It has been presented to you some months back. Mr. Wilson came down. You will recall there were some issues with respect to Los Olvidados, who wanted to have some input into that. And so the consultant and TxDOT Rail Division kind of stopped, met with them, had several meetings. They had a public meeting and so forth. And they're in the final phase of just kind of rewriting sections of the report. Mr. Wilson has indicated that they will have a final report that they will be disseminating both on their website and to us by the end of this month. Okay. And so everything that you all heard about the different options, for example, one of them was to completely elevate the KCS, was one of the options. Another one was to do a bridge structure between
yeah, but is that only KCS?
San Agustin and
It's a UP as well.
There's a UP section too, but the one I'm talking about that was actually part of the earmark. The other one was to go below grade at Convent and Santa Maria. That's all still in the report. None of that has changed according to Mr. Wilson. And then the other one was talking about possible crossings on the UP line. So none of that has changed as well. And so we're just waiting for them to finish updating the report based on the discussions that they had with Los Olvidados, Azteca neighborhood.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask the council member Valley, but he said, yeah, that's fine. So no further report?
That's all, sir.
Yeah, that concludes that report. Okay, thank you. On the outer loop alignment, VB.
Well, we went to quorum.
Yeah, no action. We can't take any action. Can we can receive information.
Yes, you can receive.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, please. Outer loop alignment study.
Correct,
By TxDOT.
Where we are right now, we received the first draft scope from the consultant, that it will be working on the outer loop alignment. We're on the process right now, or changing the scope, we're rewording the scope and adding some additional task functions that we want for them to consider the previous study and make sure that gets incorporated into this new study. So hopefully by next month, we should have already a finalized scope to start work on the study itself.
Okay, you'll be presenting, you'll be giving us a monthly status report?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Next item is status report by city engineer on the Kelton grade separation project. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Gabriel Martinez with City Engineering.
Martinez, welcome.
As we reported in June, we'll be on schedule for an August 2019 letting.
So August of next year?
Sir.
Mhm.
Next year.
Okay.
Yeah, we still have some railroad issues pending with the, as far as getting costs for surface preparation work. We have received on August the 15th, some of those costs for the track and gates modifications. And we do have some other documents pending from the railroad, such as the right-of-way entry agreement and the flagging and protective services estimate, cost estimates that the city will have to participate in.
Okay, so that's gonna be our second grade separation, correct? Grade, so to speak, over the rail line?
Yes, sir.
And we have Jefferson?
No, this is at Calton.
No, no, yes, yeah, but Calton's gonna be our second,
Oh, yes.
right, because we don't have any other, okay. And-
Also, we have some fence relocations and some utility work still pending.
Cannot hear. Can you speak up?
Yeah, can you speak up a little louder, please?
Yes, we do also have some fence relocations from
Okay, but the target date is August, that's pretty firm?
August of 2019, yes, sir.
Okay, and once we begin, how long would the construction take, more or less?
I believe the time estimate is 2 years, 2.5 years.
2.5 years, wow.
Ricardo Ramos,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
arcadist.
who's taking the lead, the city, or who's the
The city.
sponsor of this?
The city.
The city, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is that intersection gonna be completely closed down? I mean, the Calton side?
We have a phased portion for the initial part of it to be included, as we are going to be closing out some portion of it.
Okay, you'll be giving notice to the public, to the neighborhood?
Yes.
Well, to all of us, because
We would have to
such a
give-
major.
Of course, we would have to
arterial.
give advance notice to everyone to let them know how long and what would be involved as far as the closing.
And what other streets will take as alternatives, yeah.
We will have alternative plans proposed.
Okay.
Mr. Ramos is here to give us a brief summary on the project.
Okay, that's fine. Do we need well, for the public, could you be brief and just tell us, if there's anything new other than what was discussed?
Sure, no. I just wanted to discuss a little bit about the phasing. What we did is we did a 3-phase plan for this. So the 2.5 year schedule is not closing the whole intersection. We're first gonna start on the, I guess from Santa Maria westbound. That's the first phase that we're gonna close down. So Calton and Santa Maria are gonna be open, for that prolonged period. So the goal is to not close intersection, for a prolonged period of time, and that's why we face it like that.
But the west side of Calton is gonna be affected.
Yes, the west
For-
side.
For almost the duration of the project.
The west side of Calton is gonna be closed down when we finish the project, so that's why we went with that section first. Cause at the end of the day, when we built this, it's gonna be closed down. So we went with that first phase, so we can have all those businesses in that area already accustomed to that intersection is closed, that crossing. Yeah, but we didn't wanna affect Santa Maria, cause there's a lot of traffic there too,
Yeah, no.
so.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? No, that's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. The next item is, the last item, a presentation by Transit El Metro on revenue sources available for financing currently unfunded transit needs, especially
Did we
bus.
do the outer loop?
Yeah, we
alignment
did.
study?
Yeah, basically he's coming back next month to give us another steps. You're welcome, sir. Now, this is on the El Metro.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Eduardo Bernal. I'm the planning manager of El Metro.
Welcome, sir.
And our general manager, Clara San Miguel, was not able to attend today's meeting, but she did make a presentation last meeting.
Right.
And so you want me to go ahead and just?
They had requested it again
Okay.
for this time, this
Okay.
go around.
Basically, we operate fixed route and paratransit services for El Metro. Our ridership is about 2.7 million this time.
2.7 is what now, your revenues?
On ridership, on ridership.
Oh, ride ship, okay.
Yeah, ridership.
So, yeah, your ridership.
I do have a little present. These are our funding sources and our operating budget. Currently, our budget is at $15.4 million, and
Yeah, Councilmember Bali, yeah, this is something that's very important to your district.
23% of the revenue collected in our fare boxes, Mr. Chair, is about 23%, $3.6 million. 50% that we receive from the transit sales tax is dedicated for transit in the amount of 7.7 million.
That's that quarter cent that.
One quarter percent sales tax. Yes,
That
sir.
is dedicated to transit.
Yes, and that is also our matching source for our grants from the Federal Transit Administration. We receive an operating grant of $3.37 million approximately every year, and it's about 22%. The Enhanced Mobility Grant 5310, bus facilities 5339, those two grants are capital grants. Those are for bus facilities, for vans, bus purchases, and that does not include in our math of 15.4. So that's excluding, but we went ahead and just want to mention that we do receive capital grants.
Okay, those grants, are they almost guaranteed every year, or?
Yes,
or-
there's a formula money. Yes, sir, it's every year.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Including the state operating grant from TXA, that's also formula money. And the good thing about TXA is I know it's only 4%, but there's no match required on that one, so that's pretty good. And lastly is our advertising revenue of 1%. That covers basically the sources that operates on Metro. We do have the transit center downtown is self-sufficient. The revenue that comes in, 50% are from parking, both daily and monthly contracts. And our lease contracts, those are basically the rents, like Burger King, Greyhound. And it's 42%, so it's self-sufficient. No sales taxes, money goes there. And I don't, you own.
Okay, so if you add these two, those are the total
Yes,
revenue that transit received?
yes, sir, that's
Go
all.
to expenses, do you have an idea?
Mayor, just a quick comment on
Sure,
that,
go ahead.
and just to remind you also, we had been approached by the Diocese of Laredo, whereby they had a history of a couple of years of being able to advertise on El Metro, and then I believe a couple of years ago, right? It was maybe 2-3 years ago, that El Metro told them that they could no longer advertise on their buses. I guess if you can just look into that.
Sure, we'll look into that.
Yeah.
I'll ask Ms. Aguilera when she comes back.
Okay.
See I'm not too familiar with that.
You remember that, right?
We don't want to discriminate against anyone.
Hey, against anybody.
Especially the diocese.
I know the contract, stipulates like no alcohol or tobacco,
Right.
gambling or something like that, but I'm not sure what happened with the diocese of Laredo.
Yeah, it's a good point. You may want to just
Sure.
check into that.
I think they reached out to both of us at that time.
Right.
Thank you.
So do we have expenses or?
On expenses? Sure.
Yeah, this is the,
That's the revenue.
yeah, the happy side. Usually transit has a sad side.
Like I mentioned, we operate fixed route, and this is a little slide that were projected and estimated for this fiscal year and for next fiscal year. Our ridership is a little on the decline, but that's statewide and nationwide at 2.7 million. We anticipate to have about 1.7 million miles for our fixed route. Revenue hours, 147,500. Operating revenue, that's our cash coming in. We anticipate a little bit higher than this year as we are going to increase our fares this coming year again.
Yes, but apparently revenues exceed expenses. So we're doing.
11.5.
Well, that's what helps us is the sales tax that helps us,
No, you showed us revenues a total of 15 million and.
Is that your total expenses, 11.5?
total on fixed route.
Oh, okay.
What's your total,
When
what's your total revenue, total expenses?
15.3.
No, total expenses.
Well, that's revenue and expenses. That's it. In other words, revenue and expenses, both of them are 15.4 million. They're balanced. They're equally balanced. Yeah.
Okay, at least my impression was that the city subsidized from the general fund where we're subsidizing the transit, so apparently we're not.
He's just showing you
That's a good
the
question.
actual operation side, I mean, as far as the riders, the buses, I guess, you're not showing your
Overall.
buildings, your maintenance, all your other stuff.
On a
Where's the
fixed
rest of
route,
your expenditures?
and on fixed route includes maintenance.
Where is the rest of the expenditures?
It's both fixed route and paratransit.
In other words, it's a balanced budget for you all as well, so 15, yeah, but my understanding was that the city was still subsidizing, you know, the city, when I say city, the general fund of the city was subsidizing transit, but if you don't have that information, we can,
I don't have that
Yeah, we'll cover
information,
it
but
tonight anyway.
what I do know is that the sales tax is the one, but as far as the general fund, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
yeah,
how that will
but the sales tax doesn't provide all the revenue that we need for
Yeah,
transit
'cause, I mean, even
expenses.
still there, you don't, that's
Yeah.
not, that's only
I know.
13 million.
Yeah, on the budget, I think it was a presentation done that we had a negative balance and the general fund will subsidize
Yeah.
that
It's
budget.
usually airport and transit that need help from
Yes.
the general fund. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you very much.
Okay.
So
And
that concludes.
This
yeah.
is the paratransit, sorry, Mr. Chair, and paratransit is $2.2 million to operate, paratransit service advance.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
This motion adjourned, seconded, discussion unheard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no, motion carries unanimously. I got that back, yeah.